Coming to you live from behind the pine curtain, I am your host, Cameron Brown. We have a ton to talk about today. I can't wait to get to this stuff. I am joined by Trent Sampson, Hunter Shattuck, and Mason Cudd. And, this is awesome. Okay, so we need to get to a soundbite from what Trent said on the show last week.
The same thing's going to happen in the Sugar Bowl. Clemson is going to beat them by 17.
Even year.
Okay, how about this?
That's what
If the SEC, if it's Alabama and Georgia in the final,
There's no argument against
then
it.
I can't say anything against it.
Okay. So that was a sound bit of me being kind of putting my foot in my mouth there. That was pretty bad. But I got to give Bama credit. I didn't think they were that good of a football team, but boy, they sure did prove me wrong. They didn't just beat Clemson. I mean, they massacred them. I mean, to go on from saying that Clemson was going to win by 17 to get to winning the game by 18, that's pretty impressive. And so I'll give Bama props for that. The second thing I want to say is that the committee got it dead right. I mean, Alabama getting in was a great move, even though it was kind of controversial with them not winning the SEC West, not being in the SEC title game, but they definitely should have got in. And then the third thing, I want to give a shout out to Georgia for beating OU. Thank God for that, because let me tell you, nothing good comes out of OU winning for a Texas fan. And that's all I have to say.
You're a good man, Trent. So let's talk about the college football playoff. Me and Mason were at the Sugar Bowl last night. That was a heck of a lot of fun. So we didn't get to see the second half of the Georgia-Oklahoma game. So Georgia beat Oklahoma 54-48 in double overtime, the first overtime in Rose Bowl history. So that was pretty cool. And in that game, Nick Chubb ran for 14. He had 14 carries, ran for 145 yards, and had 2 touchdowns. Sony Michel had 11 carries for 181 yards, 3 rushing touchdowns, and a receiving touchdowns. That is 326 carries. 326 yards of 25 carries. They ran all over Oklahoma yesterday. Jake Fromm, 20 for 29, 210 yards, 2 touchdowns. He did much better than I thought he would. I thought that's why Georgia would lose the game, because he wasn't good enough. He proved me wrong. He played really well. But props to Georgia for winning that game. And then Alabama beating Clemson 24-6. And that game shouldn't have been that close. Alabama dominated Clemson from the first play of the game. When Clemson took the kick return out of the end zone, and the Bama got rocked it. And I mean, I told Mason, this game's over. I mean, Bama's about to run over him. So Mason, talk to me about. Let's talk about the Sugar Bowl first. You're a Bama fan. I know you're happy. So let's talk about that for a little bit.
First I'd like to say about the Sugar Bowl is, just like Cameron was just saying about the first opening kickoff, right when the players came out of the tunnel and stuff, I mean, they just looked fired up and ready to get out there. And sure enough, the opening kickoff, that guy smoked that returner, and it was just downhill from there for Clemson. And yeah, I mean, it was just from then on, it was just Alabama was swarming to the football. Hell, the first 3 drives Clemson had was 3 yards, and then -6. So the first 3 drives, they totally had 0 yards.
Kelly Bryant had 124 yards passing, 2 picks. He was 18 for 36 yesterday. He was overwhelmed. I felt bad for the kid. Bama was all over him yesterday.
Good. What did you say the first 3 drives were?
The first drive, Clemson went 3 yards. Second drive, 3 yards, and then the next drive -6. So they had 0 yards. The first 3 drives of the game.
At the end of the first quarter, they had -7 yards.
Yeah, they were in the negative.
That's the most ever in a bowl game.
Well, going into the fourth, they had 98 total yards. Going into the fourth.
And, Jalen Hurts was 16 for 24, 120 yards and 2 touchdowns. I wasn't really impressed with Alabama's offense. Now, their defense was incredible. I mean, it was 24-6, and Mason was telling me all night last night, Bama should have had 2 pick sixes.
Yeah.
On top of the pick six they already had. I mean, Bama could have won that game by 40 easy last night. Hurts struggled a little bit. Bama's run game was a little underwhelming to me yesterday. They didn't really get that going. So Clemson's got a pretty good defense themselves. But, Damian Harris, 19 carries, 77 yards. I mean, he played okay. Nothing wrong with that. It's respectable. But, it's nothing like Nick Chubb and Sony Michel put up. That's just stupid numbers. Though.
Yeah, but the defense that those guys are playing, is
nothing like Bama's team.
Nothing like Clemson's defense at all.
Yeah.
Oklahoma, out of those 4 teams, had the worst defense by a mile.
Easily. But I think that says a lot about Baker Mayfield and Rodney Anderson. about that. We'll get to that in a little bit. But
Mhm.
so, Trent, you got anything to say about the Sugar Bowl?
I couldn't have been more wrong. I mean, not only my foot in my mouth, my whole leg is in my mouth. That was about as off as I've ever been.
So the Rose Bowl, Georgia winning 54-48. I didn't get to see much of the second half, so Trent, I'll let you talk about this game for a little bit. Instant classic from what I hear. I got to see the first half. Go ahead.
Well, yeah, the first half, Oklahoma came out and dominated it. If it wouldn't have been for Lincoln Riley calling a little squib kick there before the half ended, they would have gone in up by 17 points and probably won the game.
That was a bad call.
That
to
was
kick that squib.
I mean, that's a terrible kick. I mean,
Horrible.
Austin Seibert's been kicking the ball out of the back of the end zone all game. They had 6 seconds left. They made a terrible call to squib kick it. The guy caught it on the 50. They make one pass. They kick a 55-yard bomb. Props to that guy Blankenship.
What a kick.
That was a
55
nice
yards. Beat his season high by 7 yards in the
Yes.
semifinals.
And
Pretty
then,
good. It's a momentum shift.
Huge.
oh yeah, and then so I mean that's a big difference going. I mean, to me that's a big difference going in down just 2 touchdowns compared to 3 possessions.
Right.
And then to me the thing that I noticed is that it seemed like Kirby Smart made more halftime adjustments and he made better preparation in halftime than he did in a whole month of bowl preparation. Because he came out and Georgia kind of got slacked around there for a little bit, but then they came out and they only allowed, I think, what was it 31 to?
It was 31-14 before they kicked the field
Okay,
goal.
so that
And OU got the ball started second
Yeah,
half.
OU
so
got the ball
OU had
started
all
then.
the momentum in the world.
yeah, they only scored 10 points in the second half.
And there's a big difference in being down 14 and 17.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
they only so OU's offense only scored 14. I mean 10 points in the second half total.
Wow.
That's a major adjustment there.
Mm-hmm.
I will say this: Kirby Smart and Lincoln Riley are 2 very good football coaches, and they've done a
Yeah.
heck of a job this year.
Mm-hmm.
No doubt about it.
So,
So one thing that I kind of thought was cool about Georgia playing against Oklahoma was like, we always talk about how cool it would be to see a power Big 12 team where it's spread, tons of offense, not much defense, play against the hard-nosed SEC school like Georgia. And it's weird how it was such a high-scoring game because everybody, at least for me, I always thought it would be where the SEC school would slow down the Big 12 offense a little bit, but the SEC offense wouldn't really, like the lack of Big 12 defense wouldn't really be exposed as much because the SEC offenses aren't as high-powered. But you can clearly see how the teams are kind of made towards the conference they play in.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of similar to how American League Baseball teams are geared to play with the DH, and National League teams are geared to not play with the DH, and you can see that in the World Series every year. And so, like, the SEC schools aren't built to stop the wide receivers, the air raid, all that stuff. And then same as the Big 12 defenses, like you said, Georgia ran all over Oklahoma because Big 12 defenses aren't built to stop power running games because they just don't exist in the Big 12. So it's really cool to see when those styles clash in postseason.
that game was fun. At least the half me and Mason got to watch. It was a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah.
And so I have a stat for you guys. The Georgia running backs, Michelle and Chubb, had 229 rushing yards before contact yesterday. That is incredible.
Sure they weren't playing
No.
Baylor?
So to me, that just proves that the more physical team will always beat a finesse team. And I'm not saying that Oklahoma's all finesse because they do have Rodney Anderson, who's a great back. I think he's a top 5 back in the country. But, I mean, if you put those 2 teams up, Georgia's way more physical than Oklahoma is, especially on defense, even though they gave up 500-plus yards.
I don't want to get into conference talk yet, but the Big 12 has yet to win a college playoff game because they are a finesse conference. Now, I will compliment the Big 12. If the Georgia Bulldogs score 54 points, usually they're going to blow you out. And I think it says a lot about Baker Mayfield and Rodney Anderson and that offense putting up 48 points on an extremely good Georgia defense.
Yeah.
Nobody does that. I mean, I don't know the numbers, but that's
the
got to
most-
be
most points that Georgia allowed all year.
Yeah.
And Auburn put up 40 on them. The next closest was 28. So only 2 times the team scored over 30, and Oklahoma put up 48.
in a big-time game
Yeah, in a
under all that
big-time
pressure.
Yeah.
I think it says a
Flip
lot
side-
about Baker
Flip
Mayfield.
side of that is Georgia scored more points against Oklahoma than they had scored all year, and they played teams like Samford, Tennessee, Vanderbilt, Missouri.
Right,
Not good defenses, and they scored more against Oklahoma than they had all year.
right.
So it goes both ways.
Wow.
I'm a big fan of Baker Mayfield. I think he's going to do really well in the NFL. But let's talk about UCF for a second. 13-0 this year. I've been on the UCF bandwagon all year. I did pick Auburn to beat UCF in this game, unfortunately.
I hadn't been on the bandwagon all year.
I know. I should have picked UCF. But I have said all year that UCF can play with anybody in the country. And they proved that for an absolute fact on yesterday. Their quarterback, Mackenzie Milton, I think he's really good. He's only a sophomore.
Yeah, he made some plays that made me jump out the recliner I was in.
I'm telling you right now, I think Scott Frost is one of the best coaches in the country.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That guy's done an incredible job. 3 years ago, 2015, UCF was 0-12.
Mhm.
Last year they went, I believe, 5-7.
Mm-hmm.
They had 6 wins last year.
Six, so they won 6 games. And this year, and that was his first year, Scott
Yeah.
Frost's first year. 6 games, 6 wins. This year they go 13-0, win their conference, win a New Year's Six Bowl, beat a good Auburn team. I mean, I was impressed. Mason, what do you think about UCF and what they've done this year?
Oh, I mean, they've had so much success, and just I think that speaks a lot. Like you were just saying, their records over the last 2-3 years, and I think that speaks a lot of Scott Frost and what he's done for that program, and I mean, it's transitioned over to the, it's the question of should have they had a shot? No, they should not have had a shot this year. They just didn't have the resume, but in future reference, I believe that if they could get some big time teams in their schedule, and then they'll have they can't be put out at all, and they could have a legitimate shot to be in the playoff and play with anybody.
I don't believe UCF should have been in the playoff contention, even though
Yeah.
they were undefeated. You have to have some kind of big time wins, and
I agree.
they didn't have any. I mean, I don't think UCF would go undefeated if they played in any of the Power 5 conferences.
No.
I mean, they play in the AAC, the American.
In the American.
Yeah. I mean, they had a heck of a year. I'm not taking anything away from them, but
American's a good little conference.
The recipe to get in as a non-Power 5 team would be to schedule somebody big early. So to schedule, an
Go the Houston route.
Yeah, like
Go
Houston
the
did.
Houston route.
You schedule in Oklahoma. You schedule maybe, I don't know, a Notre Dame, a Florida State, just a
Right.
big name school early, beat them, run the table. Then at the end of the year, once you're moving up the ranking, you're undefeated, you play another big team. So you play an SEC school when they have that random out-of-conference game in November.
I like that.
You play a top-tier SEC team, get another big win there at the end, get people talking about you, and that puts you over the top into the playoff. But that's the only way you get in while it's still 4 teams.
Yeah.
And I don't think that would hurt. I mean, that wouldn't be a problem for UCF because they're playing half the teams in their conference are awful football
Mhm.
teams. Awful.
Mhm.
And who do they play? Marshall and schools like that. And if you're a team that needs to be in the playoff, you need to be able to smoke Marshall and those guys. So, I mean, Memphis was a pretty good football team in their conference. Houston was
South
all
Florida.
right.
so
South
South
Florida,
Florida.
yeah. But, I mean, I like that idea a lot. I think if you schedule some big-time teams and you have a chance to get in the playoff.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
go ahead, Trent.
Well, no, I just kind of agree. Last week I was kind of playing devil's advocate about not adding the 18 playoff. And I agree. I don't think UCF should have been in. In this format, they shouldn't have been in.
Right.
I mean, the committee got it right.
Oh, yeah.
But I think that UCF was probably number 5
At this point in
at
the
this
season,
point in the season. After all the bowl games have been played, I think
agree with
UCF,
that.
UCF
somewhere
5,
around that, 5, 6, 7. I don't have a number
Ohio
for that.
State 6, Wisconsin 7, and then
Penn State.
Penn State's 8. And then I think there's your 8 teams if you decide to go with 18 playoff.
This is before.
I
This
say
is-
before.
this is as of right
I
now.
say
As of
as
right
of
now.
right now and before because I don't think you're going to put a 3-loss Auburn team in. I really don't.
No, I mean, I don't
Yeah.
think so either.
As far as if it's an
especially-
18 playoff,
Right.
UCF just beat
I will say, I don't think UCF was the 12 seed going into their bowl
Yeah.
game.
I mean,
thought they
it's
should have
easier
been
to
top
say
10
now
team.
that we have
Right,
hindsight
yeah.
because UCF beat them. But I mean, if you had to sit down and put 8 teams in, I don't know if you put in a 3-loss team.
No, I agree.
They'd be close.
I don't think
They'd
a
be
3-loss
behind.
team should be able to get in.
I
Yeah.
agree.
Even with the schedule Auburn play this year. No.
Yeah.
If you lose 3 games, you don't deserve to be in. I think
Yeah,
it's
I agree.
point blank, period. But, I mean, yeah, UCF had a great year. I mean, they were impressive all year.
Yeah, good for
Yeah,
them.
good
Good
for
for
them.
Scott Frost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's
I
see
really
what they
like.
do in Nebraska.
Yeah, I think he's going to turn Nebraska around.
I
a
hope
little
so,
bit.
man.
Big time hire.
Yeah. I liked how he coached the bowl game and finished the season
Yeah.
with his
Yeah,
players. I thought
yeah,
that was really
Hey,
cool.
and good on Nebraska for letting them do that.
Yeah,
big
that
for
was
those
good.
kids.
I think you should always be allowed to coach your bowl game. Finish what you started. Like Jeremy Pruitt, next Tennessee coach, is coaching Bama
He's
in
gonna
the
be a good
playoff.
coach.
I think he's
in
going to be a
Tennessee.
great coach.
God, dog, that Alabama defense looked good.
Yeah, it did. It sure did. So, all right, let's go ahead and get Sansom's conference breakdown. He's been itching to do this all day.
I
Let's
have
go ahead and
been
let him talk
doing
about
lots
this.
of research. So I'm not going to go into every team because that would be way too many stats to take in. But I'm just going to kind of give you the overview, and then I'm going to select a couple of the good teams and a couple of the the poor teams that just really stand out from each conference. So when I say I'm going to talk about the wins against bowl eligible teams. So that's not just the Power 5. That's all the FBS teams that were above 500 and got to play in a bowl game. And then I'm also talking about the wins against just Power 5 teams that were eligible to play in a bowl game. And so this does not include Ole Miss because they were not bowl eligible,
Right.
technically.
Okay.
So starting off with the SEC, they had 38 wins versus bowl eligible teams, but they only had 33 versus Power 5 bowl eligible teams. And then the two that stand out to me that are good for them are, of course, Georgia and Bama. Georgia actually had 7 wins against Power 5 bowl teams, which that's really impressive. And then Bama had 7 wins, with only 5 of those being against Power 5 bowl teams. One of the teams that is really interesting that I saw is LSU. They only had 2 wins versus Power 5 bowl teams.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Or no, they only had 2 wins versus bowl teams, eligible bowl teams, period.
Wow.
And then Mizzou didn't have any wins against any bowl eligible teams, and then A&M only had 1 win against Power 5 bowl eligible teams. And then the SEC bowl record was 4-5, but they also produced the 2 best
teams in
teams.
the national
2
championship.
teams you can't discount that.
Right.
If you're going to talk about the bad, you got to include the good, and that's pretty dang good. And then their SEC conference record versus other conferences, including the bowl games, it's 10-14. That ends up being 42%. They only won 42% of those games. And then if we flip to the Big 12, they had, I think this is really interesting. So the SEC has 14 teams, the Big 10 has 14 teams,
Right.
and the ACC has 14 teams.
Right.
The Big 12 only has 10 teams, but they had 40 wins against bowl eligible teams and 35 against Power 5 bowl eligible teams. OU had 8 wins, all versus Power 5 bowl eligible teams, and then TCU also had 7 wins versus bowl eligible team, which is 6 of those being against Power 5 bowl eligible teams. The only one that kind of stands out to me that made a bowl game was Tech. They only had 2 wins versus Power 5 bowl eligible teams. I don't think Tech was very good all year.
No, they were terrible this year.
Yeah. And then, of course, they also had Baylor and Kansas. I mean, they 1-11.
Those are the worst 2
Those
teams
are-
in Power 5 football.
Yeah, I agree. Those are the worst 2 teams in the Power 5. Besides maybe Illinois. Like, I know Illinois has another win, but
What Illinois?
they're
go?
pretty bad.
They went 2-10.
Yeah, they went 2-10.
Yeah, Illinois, Oregon State, you can throw them in there. They're all.
Yeah, they're all pretty bad.
Kansas is the worst, and everybody else.
Yeah, that's right. Kansas is worse than some
Kansas will never be
FCS
good.
teams.
Kansas just sits around and waits for basketball season.
We shouldn't talk about Kansas football on our podcast. They
No.
suck.
And then, so the Big 12 bowl record was 5-3. They won 63% of their bowls. And then the Big 12 conference versus other conferences is 8-8 at 50%. And then I'm also comparing all these other conferences to the SEC.
Right.
So they were 2-2 versus SEC.
Okay.
50%. And then the ACC. Now this they had the most bowl wins versus bowl eligible teams. They had 50, but only 41 came against Power 5 teams. And Clemson had 9 against Power 5 bowl eligible teams. That's
The
impressive.
committee got that right. That's why they
Yeah.
were the number 1 team in the country.
Oh,
they had
yeah.
a lot of good wins this year.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. And then
That's a lot.
a couple that stand out to me. I've been tooting up Virginia and their quarterback Bunkert. But they only had
Mm-hmm.
1 win against a Power 5 bowl eligible team. They had 2 total. And then their ACC bowl record was 4-6. That's 40%. That's the worst outside the Pac-12. And then the ACC conference versus other conferences, like the SEC, is 10-14. That's only 42% overall. And then they had a record of 5-7 against the SEC all year.
Right.
And then the final one that I covered was the Big Ten. I didn't cover the Pac-12. The Big Ten had 42 wins versus bowl eligible teams, with 34 of those coming against Power 5 teams. There's not with the top couple teams, they didn't have a ton of wins versus Power 5 bowl eligible teams, with OSU and Wisconsin coming in with 5. That's the most for the Big Ten.
Mhm.
They both Wisconsin did have 7 wins versus bowl eligible teams, but only 5 of those were against Power 5. Oh, and then one that really stands out to me was Michigan. They went 8-5, but one of those wins, but they only had 1 win versus a Power 5 bowl eligible team. That's bad.
That's really bad.
Yeah, they've been so
They
overrated.
had a disaster year this year.
Yeah,
Their
they
quarterback situation is a joke.
Yeah.
They got beat by a subpar South Carolina team yesterday.
But
And Michigan's supposed to be an elite team in the Big Ten.
Yeah. And so that's pretty telling with Michigan right there.
Right.
And then so the Big Ten bowl record was 7-1. That's 88%. And then the Big Ten conference versus other conferences was 14-6. That's 70%. And then they were 3-1 versus SEC. And then so I didn't include the Pac-12, but the Pac-12 one stat about them is they had the best. They were 7-1 against other conferences, Power 5 conferences. I mean Power 5 teams coming into the bowl season, and then they went 1-8, I believe, right?
Right, 1-8.
So they went 1-8. So they ended up with a losing record.
So to summarize what you just talked about, run me through the bowl record of each conference, 1 through 5. Pac-12
Okay.
being last because they were
Pac-12
1.
being last.
Okay.
Okay, so
No.
you got the Big Ten going 7-1,
Okay, they were first.
and then you have the Big 12 going 5-3.
Okay.
And then you have the SEC going
4 and 5.
4-5, and then the ACC going 4-6, and then the Pac-12 going 1-7. Or no, 1-8. I'm sorry.
1-8.
All right.
And then just to finish up on some stuff. I wrote down all the teams next to those 4 conferences that had less than two. They either had 2 or less wins against Power 5 bowl eligible teams. That was LSU, Kentucky, A&M, and Mizzou for the SEC. The Big Ten had Michigan. The Big 12 had Tech. And the ACC had Florida State, Duke, and Virginia.
And these are teams that made bowl games, not just.
These are teams that made bowl games that only had the most amount of wins they had against a Power 5 bowl eligible team being 2 wins.
That's pretty good stuff, Trent. I'll give you that.
There's a lot more, but I don't want to fill y'all's head with too many stats. I'm going to get into it later when we talk about my little out of the left field take.
Okay. So we've been waiting to talk about this for a long time. Let's talk about who is the best conference. Is the SEC the best conference? Is the Big Ten the best conference? Let's start with Hunter here. Trent's going to get riled up here pretty soon. Let's start with Hunter.
I'm going to save him that disappointment right now. So, going off of what Trent just said, the Big Ten had the best bowl record.
They had the best bowl record.
They beat the most. Did they beat the most Power 5 bowl eligible teams?
The Big Ten beat 42. Or no, I'm sorry. The Big Ten beat 34 Power 5 bowl eligible teams. The ACC beat 41. The Big 12 beat 35, but the Big 12 has 4 less teams than these guys.
Yeah.
And then the SEC, they had 33.
Okay.
So it goes ACC, the Big 10, the Big 12, the SEC as far as beating bowl eligible Power 5 teams.
Okay. So let me ask you this, Cam. Let's say, just hypothetically, Georgia and Alabama both lost yesterday.
Okay.
Okay. We would all agree that they weren't the best conference.
I would totally agree with that.
Okay. But they didn't. They won.
Right.
But my point is, 2 teams don't make a conference. A conference is 14 teams for a reason. Now, the 2 teams being in the national championship means those are the 2 best teams in the country. That conference has the 2 best teams.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But I don't think I'm not saying they're not the best team or the best conference, but every other team that is in the SEC is just kind of coasting, like riding those 2 teams to victory, saying, look how good our conference is because these 2 teams are that good.
See, I don't think that's true because Auburn beat both of those teams. So there's three
But
great football
Auburn
teams.
lost to a non-Power 5 team.
But they lost to a very, very good non-Power 5 school.
I do want to throw out this. So the last 2 years, the best team in the SEC, the second best team in the SEC, hasn't had fewer than 4 losses, other than Georgia this year. So last year, the second best team was LSU, and they had 4 losses.
So you're saying that it's Alabama and then everybody else.
It's Alabama, everybody else, and then this year, Georgia lost 1 game.
Mhm.
So I'm saying outside of Georgia this year,
Mhm.
the last 2 years, the second best SEC team hasn't had fewer than 4 losses.
But we're not talking about the last 2 years. We're talking about
Okay.
this year.
I know.
And here's my point. I'm not saying the SEC is the best conference of anybody else by a mile. I would say if you put a gun to my head and I had to pick one of the 5, I would pick the SEC. And
So-
I think that there being 2 SEC teams in the national championship, I think that should be what gets them ahead of everybody else. I don't think the SEC are world beaters this year. But man, you put two teams in the national championship. I just
agree.
don't see how you argue that.
I didn't think I didn't think they both of them would get in. That's why I made, my big mouth kind of outran me there. I didn't think they were both going to get in.
Right.
But
I picked Oklahoma. I didn't either. I thought Oklahoma.
I picked Georgia, and then I picked Clemson, which hindsight, oh my gosh.
Alabama smoked them. Clemson didn't belong in the same field yesterday as Alabama.
Yeah, I agree. But so this is the reason I don't believe that the SEC is the top dog anymore. So from 2006, when I think Florida won it that year in 2006, after the year Texas won.
Yeah, somewhere around there, 2006.
So Texas won the 2006 Rose Bowl.
Right.
But that would have been the 2006-2007 season that Florida won.
Right.
So from then to 2015, the SEC bowl record is 65-32 at 67%. That's dominant.
It's very
That's
good.
dominance. That's the dominance that everybody talks about. To me, is in that era right there.
Mm-hmm.
They went 9-2 in bowls in 2015 that year, and that was the year we all started talking about is the SEC kind of
It's the
stumbling.
best. That's when this conversation came up. 2014, 2015.
Yeah. But in the last 2 years, the bowl record is 10-12 at 45%. That's a major dip. They went
That is a
6-7 last year and 4-5 this year, back-to-back losing bowl seasons. That has not happened since I think 2003.
So to that point, we're not comparing SEC versus previous SEC. We're comparing SEC versus everybody else this year.
This year.
Now-
Now, I'm not arguing with you that the SEC is not as dominant as they used to be.
I don't think. The thing about it is if you're going to say the SEC is not the best conference, you have to put somebody else up there. Now, I just don't know who else you put up there. I think it's more fitting to say the SEC is the least bad conference than to say that they're the best. Because when you say they're the best, you're thinking, okay, they're as dominant. But, I mean, who else are you going to put up there? They're just the least bad conference.
Well, it's subjective. It depends on what you think makes you the best conference. Is having the two best teams make you the best conference, and then having 12. Well, now I got to give Auburn credit. Auburn had a good season.
Yeah, Auburn had a very good season.
So I'll
they
give
got
Auburn
beat by a
credit.
very good football
But
team
to me,
yesterday.
after
and
reading
it was
that-
a close game.
Oh yeah, so we'll take. I want to include Auburn in this. But to
Auburn,
me,
Auburn belongs in the. If you're gonna use the argument of the SEC is top heavy, Auburn belongs.
yeah,
in
no,
the
exactly. But I think that ends at Auburn because LSU with that stat having 2 Power 5 bowl eligible team wins, that's pretty telling to me. I mean, them being at 9-4.
Yeah, but Trent, no conference has 4 dominant teams.
But
None.
No, what I'm saying is I believe
LSU's
that
still a decent
other than those Alabama, Georgia, and Auburn, I believe the rest of that conference against the rest of every other conference.
for example,
is-
the Big Ten, 4, 5, 6, 7 teams.
yeah, would beat the SEC's 4, 5, 6, 7 teams. And
So
I believe the Big
disagree.
12's 4, 5, 6, 7 teams would beat the SEC's 4, 5, 6, 7 teams. I believe the ACC 4, 5, 6, 7
No,
teams would
because
beat.
to the Big Ten, Michigan got beat by South Carolina yesterday.
And Louisville
I
lost
agree.
to Mississippi State.
And that's the
I
ACC.
agree. That's the ACC and the Big Ten that lost those games to the
Exactly.
SEC. And then to your point, though, Mizzou lost to Texas.
They're
Mizzou is the
just
worst
god
SEC
awful.
team that made a bowl
Hey.
game. I will give you that. Mizzou is terrible. They did not belong in a bowl. They played a horrendous schedule.
I don't.
I'm
think,
not arguing with you on
I
that.
don't think there's any way that you can say the SEC, or that there is a better conference than the E SEC.
Here's my thing, Trent. I think people are getting too. I love your stats you brought up about winning against Power 5 schools because I think that's important. But I think people are overblowing winning the Camping World Bowl and the Cure Bowl and all these.
So wait, do those bowls not count?
No, they
We not play
matter.
them?
No, they matter.
'Cause
But
I've heard
I,
all these texts
No.
that players don't care as much,
no,
and that's
see,
not true.
That's not true. That's not true at all. These bowls are a big deal to some of these kids.
Oh, I think it better be a big deal to all these kids that are playing.
I would think so, but some of these teams like come out and lay an egg in a bowl, Trent. But here's my thing. I think you should winning a New Year's Six bowl and winning a that's New Year's Six bowl, the semifinals
Mhm.
should be put in a bigger class than winning the
Okay.
Cactus Bowl. You shouldn't compare a win in the semifinals to winning the Camping World
I
Bowl,
agree.
the Foster Farms Bowl. I mean,
Ooh.
it's good for Purdue for beating Arizona in the Foster Farms Bowl, but that shouldn't count as the same as Ohio State beating USC in the Cotton Bowl.
Okay, well let
Hang
me
on,
tell you.
let me get Mason here real quick because I know he's been
Okay, go
itching to
ahead.
talk.
I heard a pretty cool stat today. If Georgia beats Alabama in the national championship on January 8th, it will be the 6th different team in the SEC to win a championship in the last 20 years, which is the same as all the other conferences combined. And I just thought that was just shows over a 20-year time period how there's been. Well, if Georgia does beat Alabama, it'll be the 6th SEC team in 20 years to win the national championship,
Oh, yeah.
and that's as much as any other conference combined.
But we just said we're talking about this year, though. We're
We
not-
are- we are talking
I
about
know,
this
I
year.
know, I
Now,
understand.
to
And I
your
will
point,
say
the
so-
SEC has been the most dominant conference in the previous years.
Yeah.
I agree with that. and I think we
that's-
should all
that's
agree
a
with
fact.
that.
From 2006 to 2015, that's a
Before
fact.
that, I think a whole decade they've been the most dominant conference. That's
I
beside
don't
the
know.
point. That's beside the
Yeah, I
point.
don't know. I honestly can't say anything about that. But I will say, Bama has won 4 out of the last 6 as far as the SEC. I think that's right. Bama's won the 4 out of the last 6 of the SEC winning the national championship. I think Bama's been in 4 of those.
Yeah.
But Brown, to your point, my last point about you said winning a certain bowl game means more, like winning the
I
New
think
Year's
so.
Six
I
Bowl.
think it should almost double for winning
Right
the
now,
the
the
semifinals.
the coaches that are left in the SEC right now, so not including Coach Sumlin.
God
Nick
rest his soul.
Coach Saban is the only coach in the SEC to win a New Year's Six Bowl or BCS Bowl.
Wait, say
That's
that one
still
more time.
coaching in the SEC.
Say that one more time.
Nick Saban is the only coach to win a New Year's Six Bowl or BCS Bowl. But now, if you include Jimbo's coming in, that's two coaches to win a New Year's Six Bowl or BCS Bowl in the SEC. So you're telling me those
Kirby
games mean
Smart did
more,
this year.
huh? Oh, and Georgia this year.
Yeah.
So you're telling me those bowl games mean more,
Absolutely.
but there's only been, other than Saban, there's been one by Jimbo. He's yet to coach a game in the SEC yet, and there's been one by Kirby Smart this year.
But I don't understand what your point is here.
So you were saying
It's
that
only the
all
4th
these,
year of the playoff.
but I'm talking about these New Year's Six Bowls. I'm talking about the BCS Bowls in the past when it was like
Right.
the Fiesta Bowl and all those other bowls
Right.
outside the BCS championship.
Well, Trent, I mean, you're only going to get 1 or 2 conference teams in there.
But that's what I'm saying. I think, like Hunter said, you're kind of riding Bama's success.
I disagree totally. Because, like he just said, LSU's, I mean, this is not what we're talking about, but LSU's won a national championship in this decade. Florida has. Tennessee won 2 years before 2000, if you're going back the last 20 years. Florida, LSU, Tennessee, Auburn won.
In this decade,
Alabama. We're talking
since 2010.
No, 20 years from here to
all the
back.
2000s, but this is beside the point. But I don't think riding Alabama's coattails is factual at all.
Well, let's think about
But
it.
first of all, because Georgia's in the national championship right now.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm not talking about Georgia. So every year there's Alabama at the top with another
Yeah,
team,
they're
whether
the
it be
best
Georgia
team.
or Auburn and Florida. Outside of that, the last 6, 7, 8 years, it hasn't been anybody.
I don't think that's riding Alabama's coattails. That is showing how good Alabama
Alabama
is.
is.
And they're
So
beating all of these teams, which is a loss on their schedule, just like that. And teams beat Alabama. Ole Miss beat them back-to-back years
And
twice.
that's what I'm saying. So that
Auburn
coach,
beat 'em
and
this
Hugh
year.
Freeze isn't there in the SEC anymore.
Yeah.
Everybody's record, so all the other coaches' record that are in the SEC right now, they have only won 2 games against Nick Saban out of the last, I think, 60 that they played him.
That's how good Nick Saban and Alabama is.
Yeah, and both
That
those
shouldn't
wins,
take
both of
anything
those
away
wins
from
are
everybody
from
else.
Gus Malzahn.
Yeah.
Because Hugh Freeze is gone, Stublin's gone.
Right.
So 2 wins are all from Gus Malzahn. But I don't know that well, I guess we're just not going to see eye to eye on this.
You got anything else to say, Mason?
I agree with Cameron. Is I just don't understand how winning the tech in the speaking towards like SEC is how losing the Citrus Bowl, the Belk Bowl, the Texas Bowl, I think the Tax Slayer Bowl, or no, sorry, Mississippi State won the Tax Slayer Bowl, but I just don't see how those trump 2 teams
Right.
winning both semifinal games going to the national championship.
My point is,
that's
that's
what I
I
think.
think the talking heads like Danny Cannell and Joel Klatt are blowing up these bowl records, which I don't think is the most important thing. I will give you your stats that you gave earlier about winning against Power 5 schools. It's pretty good.
Power 5 bowl.
Power 5 bowl eligible team. That's important, I think.
That's to me, and that's why.
But going 4-5 in the bowl games, I don't think should just disqualify you from being the best conference. And
But-
going 7-1 when they only played in 2 New Year's Six bowls and didn't put any team in the playoff hurts the Big Ten a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, they played 5 really early bowl games too.
They did.
Mhm.
But to me, that's what I'm saying.
And
To me,
it's good
that
for the Big
proves,
Ten
though,
to win those
so
bowl
that's the
games.
meat of y'all's conference. Because Alabama and Georgia
Yeah.
aren't the whole conference. So the
No.
meat of y'all's conference can't beat the meat of everybody else's conference. That's what I'm saying. Now, yes, y'all have the two best teams. It's not even close.
Well, yeah.
But
It's
I'm saying the
proven.
meat of y'all's conference isn't anywhere near as good as, to me, like the meat of the Big 12s and the meat of the Big 10s.
I don't
Y'all,
know.
y'all do have that one win, South Carolina. And see, it's kind of
Michigan's
funny.
probably the fourth best team in the Big Ten.
They're the
South Carolina-
sixth.
Nah, I
They're
wouldn't
the
say
sixth.
that. Michigan's better than Iowa. They beat Iowa this year, I'm pretty sure.
I got them. Let me look at it here.
I'll give you the teams in the Big Ten that are better than Michigan. Ohio State,
Yep.
Michigan State,
Yep.
Penn State, Wisconsin. So they're 5. Wisconsin.
With Northwestern, 10 wins. That's a 10-win team.
I'm pretty sure Michigan beat Northwestern this year. I'm not. Don't quote me on that.
Well, all I'm saying is it's
Go
a
look that
10-win
up.
team versus an 8-win team. When Texas beat Oklahoma when they were 1-4, were they a better team than Oklahoma?
No, they weren't.
No, they weren't. So there's the sixth best team right there.
And to Northwestern, Kentucky went for 2 to try to win that game.
They did, but that's
That
I
was
mean,
an
that's,
evenly matched game. And you're right. You shouldn't
Evenly
do it. You
matched.
shouldn't win the game. You should have done that.
85.
But I'm just saying, it's not like the Big Ten's running over all these teams and
well,
they're racking up wins on these tiny bowls. Did they play?
but those
Did they
still
play each other?
matter.
They did
though.
not play each other.
Michigan didn't play.
That's fair. So
Northwestern.
Michigan and South Carolina are about even then. I'll give you
That's
that.
what I'm saying though. So it's like the meat of those the Big Ten's conference is. To
So
me,
what you're saying
I'm not-
is the middle of each conference.
the SEC's
better
middle
than the
conference
SEC.
is bad.
Okay, I'll give you that, but I'll also say the bottom of the SEC is better than anybody else's bottom. Tennessee-
I would say that
Tennessee,
except for other than the ACC.
Florida and Arkansas are the worst 3 teams in the SEC.
Say it again.
Tennessee, Florida, and Arkansas.
In Vandy,
Vandy won 5 games. I mean, I'm going bottom 3 here.
you go bottom 3.
Those are the worst 3 teams in the conference. Tennessee last, Florida next to last, and Arkansas.
But see, and that comes.
That's
to
better
me, that
than
comes
Baylor,
down-
Kansas, and Tech. Tech holds up the Big 12. Their Baylor and Kansas are horrible. Sorry.
Yeah, that's 2 teams though compared to 3, and you also get a whole other out of conference game. The SEC is the only conference. I think maybe I think
that
the
has
ACC
nothing
does.
to do with
that
this,
plays-
though, Trent.
No, because y'all get 3 cupcake wins.
No, he's saying that those
No,
teams
I-
would beat those teams.
Yeah, that's
That's what he's saying.
You're saying, oh, okay, you're saying Tennessee and
Tennessee, Arkansas,
Arkansas and Florida.
Florida would beat.
All the
Baylor,
bottom 3 of
Kansas,
every
and Tech.
conference.
That's what he was saying.
Illinois,
I think-
Indiana, and Maryland without their quarterbacks right now would get smoked.
yeah, I think so.
I mean,
There's just
I don't
no
want to
way.
talk about Tennessee because they had a joke of a season, but they beat Georgia Tech, who went 5-6 and should have made a bowl, and that was a middle to the bottom of the ACC.
But see, in
But
the
Tennessee
bottom
sucks,
4,
so.
the bottom 4 of the SEC, Arkansas and Tennessee, which is 13-14, they have 0 wins versus Power 5 bowl eligible teams.
But I'm not
Florida and Vandy only have 1.
I'm not saying that though, Trent. No bottom
But it-
team's gonna have a big win.
Yeah,
I know
none.
that, but that's what I'm saying. Y'all's 4 bottom ones is because they have more wins than the bottom ones in these other conferences because they get an extra out of conference game, which gives them time to schedule an extra cupcake. Does that make sense?
Y'all two are arguing 2 different things. He's saying that those teams would beat the bottom teams
But,
of the
but how do
other
we know
conference.
that if they're given like kind of free extra
So
wins?
wait, so
here?
you're telling me Baylor?
that's my point.
You're telling me Baylor would beat Tennessee or Arkansas? There is no
I
way.
think so.
Okay,
I think
guys.
Tech would.
This is a pointless argument.
Leave my Bears
Well,
out of it.
Tech is
We're
6
a
and 7.
basketball school.
They actually made a bowl.
Tech's awful.
Trent,
They
Tech
have
is
more
really
Power
bad.
5 bowl wins
But,
than any of these
but
other 4.
this is beside the point. If you're telling me Baylor would beat any team in the SEC, you're crazy. They lost to Liberty and UTSA.
I don't know.
Okay, the bottom line is we need to get this rolling on.
I'm sorry, Hunter.
this is
We're
pointless.
pounding you here. But
Yeah. We'll have another time to discuss this later on. We will.
So, okay, let me ask you this before we move on. Who's the best conference in football? Trent.
I got an answer for you, and it comes down to this because later on I had a little bit more stats I have to lay down, but in my conclusion, I say the SEC and the Big Ten are the much heavier top. They're the much top.
You said the SEC and the Big Ten or
Yeah.
the ACC?
No, I said the SEC and the Big Ten are much more top heavy.
Well, give me
So-
your number one. You have to pick one conference. Who's the best?
I'm saying there's always gonna be an argument about it,
Oh, yeah.
and it's always gonna be in someone's it's always gonna be subjective because it depends on what you think about it.
But you're not answering my question. I'm putting a gun to your head. Who is the best conference in college football? That's what this whole
Trent just
segment is
turned
about.
into a politician.
Yes, he did.
Honestly,
You got to pick one. I said the SEC.
Okay.
Mason says the
and
SEC.
I promise this, and I hate the big. Like I'm saying, I wish the Big 12 would disband, but I'm looking at
No
something.
way.
According to 24/7 Sports, the Big 12, in terms of top to bottom, is the toughest to win in.
I disagree totally, Trent.
They beat each
we're
other
not,
up.
We're not moving on here. We're staying on this.
You could use the same
Yeah,
argument for
That's
any
what people
other
said about the
conference.
SEC for years. They beat
Exactly,
each other
and
up.
they did beat each other up. That's what I'm
Yes,
saying.
and
They're not
still
like that
doing
anymore.
that today.
No,
Yes.
they're not.
Yes, they are.
No, they're beating up the bottom 3 teams.
No, they are not.
They are.
Everyone beats up on the bottom three
I
teams.
know. What I'm saying is the middle of conference, the Iowa State, the Kansas State, they're beating Oklahoma State,
Trent,
TCU, and
here's my
Oklahoma.
point.
There's no middle of the conference team beating
Here's my
Alabama
point.
and Georgia. It's
No,
not even close.
No, you're right. Here's my point. If you're basing the middle of someone's conference as the best, I think that's totally wrong.
I'm not. I'm really not.
You need to
Look,
judge
I
your
think-
conference from the best teams. Now,
So we're going to discount.
no, that is
12
not,
other teams
No, that is not what I said. You're putting words in my mouth. A conference
Okay.
should be judged from its best teams.
Okay.
Period. Not the middle, not Iowa State, not the middle, the best. Who are the best 4 teams in the Big 12?
The best 4 teams. It's going to be OU, TCU, Oklahoma State, and
Not West.
not no. So it's OU, TCU, OU State, and Iowa State.
Okay.
So you take the SEC, which they got Alabama and Georgia.
All right, let's do this. Let's all do
Auburn,
this and
LSU.
we'll move on. What are the 4 best teams in the SEC? Alabama,
just said-
Auburn, Georgia, and you say LSU?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's run.
LSU.
Let's go head to head here.
Okay.
Alabama versus Oklahoma. I think that'd be a great game.
It'd be
Yeah.
a great game.
Great game.
I think Oklahoma's a matchup problem for Alabama. I really do.
Mhm.
I don't think Bama's offense is good enough.
It's the same way
But-
they were a matchup problem for Georgia, and the game went in overtime. So it's a
Right.
toss-up.
That's it. We'll put that one aside for later. Georgia and who? Oklahoma State.
TCU.
I believe it is.
Either
TCU.
one's
It's
gonna-
35,
It's TCU.
35-point blowout.
Either one's
To
going to
TCU.
Kenny Hill sucks.
Either one's
We
gonna
said
win
it
this
about
game.
Georgia and TCU. Come on now.
They do have a better defense than
Georgia just beat the best team in the Big 12.
No, I know.
Who
I'm
dismantled
giving,
TCU.
I'm giving Georgia the win here. I'm
No.
not saying it's not going to be a 35-point blowout.
No,
That's
it'd
a
be
little
35, but it would be a blowout. It would not be close, either team.
much. Okay.
Oklahoma
Okay,
Oklahoma
well,
State
I'm
would
saying
get
we'll give you the win.
destroyed.
I'm saying I'm giving y'all that win, so let's move
And
on.
Auburn would beat Oklahoma State. I think
I
those
don't
are-
think so.
Oh, my. Trent,
Why?
come
Let me
on.
think. So they lost the number 1 scoring offense in the country in UCF. Guess who's number 2? Oklahoma State.
No, think about
That gives
this.
them-
No, think about this. Oklahoma State, listen
That
to
gives
me.
them problems.
When they play a defense halfway good. TCU and Texas are the best 2 defenses in the Big 12.
5. It's not even close. Yeah.
TCU smoked Oklahoma State at Oklahoma State.
I thought they won by. How
They
much was
won, by,
that?
they won by like 20.
No, I think they won by 18. They won by 18.
It was a blowout. Texas should have beaten Oklahoma State. They had it in the bag.
Mhm.
Oklahoma State also lost to Kansas State and Oklahoma. Were probably the 4 best defenses in the Big 12. Something around there. So when Oklahoma State plays a defense that's halfway decent, they get beat because they can't sling all over the field.
But they did against
It's the
Kansas
same
State and
way
Oklahoma.
with Baylor and Bryce Petty back in the day where they sling all over the field and they play a team with a good
See, we're just gonna
defense.
have to
They
disagree
can't
to
hang.
disagree.
Hunter, I'm sorry I keep hammering Baylor.
What did I
I
do
can't
to
help
you?
it.
I'm just saying we're going to have to disagree to disagree on that. I mean, agree to disagree.
But there's no way you can believe that.
So you're just telling me that UCF doesn't have that great of a defense. Is that not what y'all said before?
UCF's defense is
Not that good,
very
right?
Good.
Oklahoma
No.
State's defense is not very good,
It's
but they
awful.
both have great offenses.
Okay.
So you put them up. I would honestly take Okie State, and then I would take Iowa State versus LSU because Iowa State has played better teams. They beat 2 top 5 teams at the time.
I
In the
will
country.
succumb and give.
So it's,
I
they're-
still
we're
don't think
sitting at
LSU
2
beat
and
Iowa
2.
State, but I'll let you have that.
We're sitting at 2-2.
No, we're sitting at 3-1.
I
I think.
thought we said Oklahoma, Alabama's a toss-up. I'd give you that win. I'd
So,
give you Georgia win.
How about we just throw that out of the way? Throw that one out.
Throw which one out?
Oklahoma, Alabama. We could argue about that. That would be a heck of a football game. I can't
I
decide.
would.
that.
I think
Then I say
Alabama
it's
wins
2.
that game.
Alabama?
I think Alabama wins that game, but I think Okie State beats Auburn.
Nah, there's no way.
No
There's no
way
way.
in hell.
That's what people said about UCF, and guess what happened?
That's true. That's true.
That's what I'm saying.
Oklahoma State's not very good. I was on the
Dude,
Oklahoma
I
State
don't even
bandwagon.
like the Big 12 because there's no teams in there that I hate anymore because we got West Virginia in here and TCU that's never been in there. All our teams I hate are Arkansas, Missouri, A&M, and Nebraska. And guess what? They're not in the Big 12 anymore.
So,
So this is not Big 12 biased at all.
I disagree with that. But
The
Trent,
key
no
thing
one,
that you're
literally
forgetting
no one thinks the Big 12 is the
The
best
key
conference
thing
in
that
football.
you're
There's
forgetting,
no
Trent,
way.
is
Well, how
if
about
you think the Big 12 is better,
The
is
Big
the
12
best
is-
conference, you just had the best team go play an SEC team and they couldn't beat them. They lost. It
They
was a
weren't-
war.
That's what I said.
It was a war,
And
but
they
they
weren't
lost.
even the
lost.
hands down best team in the SEC. There's
Yeah.
another one just
Yeah.
like them.
Yeah, OU
Well, yeah.
lost.
But
you
they were-
had,
they
you
were
had the chance right
Yeah.
now.
No, I know.
That tells you
But that's-
Big
that's
12
one
is not
team, though.
better than the SEC, period.
That's
Game
one
over.
team.
That's it.
That's
it.
one team.
Yeah.
So,
the
okay,
best-
well, let's forget. Okay, let's cancel. Let's cut the last 9 teams in the Big 12. Let's cut the last 12 teams in the SEC and never count those games ever again. Because we're saying those games don't count.
No one ever said that. You're
That's what we're
that.
saying. He's saying one game means everything.
No. What I'm saying is
I am saying
you
to
had
you,
your best
no.
team
Against
play Georgia.
the best
and you
team in the
lost.
SEC.
You lost.
I know.
So how is anybody less than OU
So I'm
going to
saying,
beat
if
the
you're going
other
to take that
power
game,
team?
you cannot forget that the other 7 teams went 2-5 outside of Alabama and Georgia winning their games. That's what I'm saying. You can't just choose to ignore that. Look,
I'm not ignoring
here's
it.
a-
I never said that.
Here's,
let
here's
me
a tweet by
talk.
Stuart Van Dale that explains my thoughts perfectly. He said 2 national title participants and a 2-5 record in the other bowl games pretty much sums up 2017 SEC. And I agree 1,000%. Do you agree, Hunter? 2 national title participants
Okay.
and a 2-5 record. In
So
the
this
bowls.
this should end the whole debate. I think yes, the rest of the SEC is not very good, but I think the fact that they have 2 teams in the national championship outweighs how bad the rest of the conference is. I think you're right that the rest of the SEC is not good.
Okay,
but-
let me go ahead.
But in my opinion, I choose to value the 2 teams in the national championship more than the lack of depth in the conference.
That's what
Yeah.
I'm saying.
And
Okay.
so I think you both have very good points. It's just you value them differently, and so that's why you're disagreeing.
That's fair.
Here, I'll phrase it a different way. I will say this: you should never play for mediocrity. And the SEC has 2 teams in the national championship. That's pretty dang great.
That's incredible.
But the reason I said the Big 12 is because I truly believe it's the toughest week to week to play in, because the middle teams can beat the good teams.
There are no weeks off in the Big
There's nobody in the middle of the SEC is going to beat those 2 teams.
That's not true. Mississippi State brought Bama down to the wire.
Baylor bought Oklahoma down the wire.
And
You
Baylor
wanna go
is
back and
trash.
Yeah,
Hey, we
That's what
beat
I'm saying.
Kansas, so dadgummit.
that's what I'm
We beat
saying.
'em.
Hunter, I'm sorry for bashing Baylor.
Hey.
They just came
Hey,
up.
we went on the road to Lawrence, Kansas, and wore them out. Let me tell you,
But
38-9, baby.
I don't know, Trent.
I just
I
think
can't-
SEC and the Big 10 are really top heavy. The Big 12 is anybody can win any given week outside of Kansas and
I
Baylor.
think the Big 12 is mediocre.
I'm not.
From
Well,
top to bottom, they're
Okay.
mediocre.
well, everybody can have their opinion. That's why
That's
it's
why
always
we're
gonna
arguing
be,
about it.
That's what I'm saying. That's why it's always gonna be subjective. Because
Oh,
I guarantee
yeah.
you, what I just said is probably nobody will ever say that.
No.
No, you're the only person ever.
No, that's
Yeah.
what I'm saying. But they do have more Power 5 wins against bowl eligible teams than the SEC with 4 less teams. I mean, you can't discount the Big
The
12 and
only
say they're
thing I agree with you on is the SEC needs to play 9 conference
soft.
games.
And it would look
Yeah.
very different.
No.
They have so many teams, and yet they still play 1 fewer conference game, don't they?
Yeah, they got to get
Right.
their bowl. They got to get those.
I'm not arguing that. I agree
Why
with
is
that.
that a thing?
I have no idea.
Let's-
But they're not the only one. The ACC does it too.
And
The
also the
ACC
S-
does it too.
Even though it hasn't made a difference the last 2 years, the SEC should not be able to handpick the bowl games outside the New Year's Six games.
See, I don't know where you get
That's
that
a fact.
information.
Look it up. I'm
Nah,
serious.
I don't think that's
I
true.
will
We're
find
moving
out
on.
the source. I
We're
know.
moving on. No, we're not arguing about that. All right. It's time to get to Cud's Lost Soul of the Week.
Okay, this one was just a plain and simple winner this week. The winner is the Lost Soul, easy. Corey Coleman, the wide
Oh.
receiver for the Cleveland Browns.
What's it up with my Bears?
I'm sorry, Hunter. I'm sorry. But the Browns were driving down the field, 28-24. They're down 4 points in Pittsburgh at Heinz Field. And it's 4th and 2. Kaiser scrambles out of the pocket, throws surprisingly a good ball to Corey Coleman, and it just goes right through his hands. And then the turnover on downs, ball game over, 0-16 Cleveland Browns.
He was wide open too.
Wide open.
Honestly,
In the
I
red
mean-
zone.
could you?
In your defense, Hunter, they would still have to score to win the game.
Yeah.
But that ended it right
So
He hit him right in the
could
hands.
you end an 0-16 season any more appropriately?
Oh, no
Oh,
way.
I mean,
yeah.
That's a fitting
I
end
mean,
to the
That's
come
true.
Browns.
on.
That
What
is
would
true.
you expect?
That is true.
Hey, sick 'em.
I've got a stat about the Browns.
Very good. At Baylor. Very good.
Corey Coleman was good at Baylor. So here's a stat about Hugh Jackson and the Browns. Bill Belichick in 9 seasons as a New England Patriots coach has lost 32 games.
Oh no.
Hugh Jackson as a Cleveland Browns head coach in 2 seasons has lost 31 games.
He beat him.
Yeah, no, he's one shy of he did beat him. That's pretty bad.
Yep.
That's incredible.
That's how good Bill Belichick is and how bad the Browns are.
Mhm.
I think Hugh Jackson's okay. I just think no one can succeed there. I think the Browns are a dumpster fire. But
Yeah, they can just never catch their footing. You know, with just draft pick after draft pick, they're just desperate to get somebody to start something, and then they just can't.
right. So that's Cud's Lost Soul of the Week. You didn't have another one, Cud? I thought you had one more Lost Soul of the
Oh
Week.
well, I mean, there was very easily one more loss of the week. Trent Sampson. He had it locked in.
Yeah, I deserve that with Alabama. I mean, yeah, with the Clemson Alabama prediction.
Cuz lost soul of the week. So let's talk some NFL for a little bit. And the playoff picture is set so Saturday in the AFC, you've got Tennessee Titans play at Kansas City. And on Sunday, the Buffalo Bills play at the Jacksonville Jaguars. And then you have the Atlanta Falcons play at the Los Angeles Rams. And the Carolina Panthers play at New Orleans. Tennessee beat Jacksonville 15-10 to lock up their playoff spot, which bumped out Baltimore, who lost 31-27 at home to the 7-9 Cincinnati Bengals. That's a choke job by Baltimore. They had it in the bag. They're a 10-point favorite.
Mm-hmm.
And let's see. The Bills, 22-16 at Miami. The Bills were in the playoffs for the first time since 1999, I believe.
17 season
Yep.
drought.
They tried to mess that one up.
They did try to mess that up. Miami almost came back and won that game. That leaves out the Los Angeles Chargers, who took care of business and won 30-10. I think the Chargers were the best wild card team,
I agree.
but 0-4 starts what sunk their ship real quick.
Mhm.
Now, I will throw out this stat so y'all know what point differential is.
Mhm.
So the Ravens, who missed the playoffs, point differential is plus 92. The Chargers is plus 83. The Titans' point differential this year is minus 22. And the Bills' point differential is minus 57. That's 140 less than the Ravens. And they all had 9-7 records, I believe.
Mhm.
And the NFL does something weird where it's like I don't know if it's conference wins or division wins or something. It's kind of like college football.
Mhm.
My proposal for this is I think you should go by this point differential thing. I think that's pretty cool. I think that soccer does that, I believe.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's pretty cool because in my opinion, I don't know much, but in my opinion, I think the Ravens and the Chargers are the best two teams of those four. And they're all 9-7.
Mhm.
Man, my deal with that, though, is if you're the Ravens and you're playing the Bengals the last week of the season and all you have to do is win and you think you deserve a spot in the playoffs, beat the Bengals.
Oh, no, I agree with that.
I mean,
yeah.
come on.
I agree with that.
You know, if you think you're good enough to play in the playoffs and you're playing the Cincinnati Bengals,
It's
just
been
win.
awful this year.
It's simple. Just win.
Mhm.
So I don't really feel bad for the Ravens. I do think that the Chargers.
I feel so bad for
Yeah.
the Chargers.
They started 0-4, new city. I mean, it's horrible. It's hard to watch. Nobody's going to the games, and then all of a sudden they just go on a tear.
Yeah.
And play great the rest of the season and just miss it.
Their stadium seats 35,000 people, and literally no one goes to the games.
They can't even sell out that.
I saw Doug Gottlieb of Fox Sports 1 tweet out the Chargers went 9-7 on the road this year.
That's pretty good.
But I don't know. I mean, Mason, what do you think about NFL weekend this weekend?
You know, the two games that stick out to me the most is the Panthers and Saints and Rams and Falcons. Those two games are going to be either way. I mean, those four ball clubs have some serious talent. And that just shows you how, and I believe that's in the NFC, right?
Yeah, and the NFC.
Yeah.
The NFC stout.
Yeah,
this
I mean,
year.
that just
Really
shows you
stout.
that's the first round
Yeah.
of the NFC playoffs. I mean, that's just incredible to me.
Not counting the Eagles and Vikings.
It's-
that are on
Yeah,
bye.
that's the wild
Yeah.
card round.
Those are six
Exactly.
really good football
Yeah.
teams.
I know. It's just incredible how talented those teams are in the NFC.
So the Cowboys, they won a disgusting game with the Eagles 6-0, and they ended up going 9-7. Atlanta went 10-6, so that loss to Seattle last week ends up meaning absolutely nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So Cowboys fans can kind of hold their head on that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's
I'd
true.
probably rather do the way they did it now than go 10-6 and miss the playoffs. It'd be
Yeah.
kind of heartbreaking.
That would be rough.
But I don't know. God, give me a prediction on who's going to win the NFC. I think it's the toughest conference to predict.
Yeah. I mean, this is just a shot in the dark. I mean, just like we were just talking about those six teams. I mean, how good those six teams are and the talent that they have. Yeah, like you said, it's a prediction just so tough.
Yeah.
But, I got to go with the Rams. Yeah, I'm going with the Rams. I'm really loving what Todd Gurley's been doing this season. And Goff I feel like he's hit his stride. And what I'm really impressed with about the Rams is the receiving corps this year.
Oh, the Rams, they've got some good
They got
wideouts.
Sammy Watkins and Robert Woods is playing
He's played very well this year.
very well. Cooper Kupp is playing outstanding.
He might be the best wide receiver in this rookie class. That was supposed
he's
to be
playing
outstanding.
outstanding. And then when Robert Woods, I believe, was going down, their draft pick Josh Reynolds from A&M, he stepped up
Yeah.
and has, I believe, 3 or 4 touchdowns in that time where Robert Woods was injured. So I'm really impressed with that receiving core. And like I said, Goff and Gurley 1-2 punch right there is just pretty lethal.
Todd Gurley's my NFL MVP of the season.
Mine too.
I know Hunter loves him because he won in his fantasy football
That's
championship
right.
this year.
That's right.
He's my MVP. Samson, what do you think about NFL MVP this year? Todd Gurley, you like that?
I'll roll that one.
He's had a heck of a year.
Yeah.
Jared Goff's played really well, but I think Todd Gurley's the heart and
Mhm.
soul of that football team.
I
If
agree.
Carson Winston get hurt,
He
might
would
have-
be in the talk, but
Yeah.
you can't give it to him. He's missed
Yeah,
so many
I agree.
games. But yeah, it's gonna be fun to watch this weekend. I'd like to see.
Oh,
I think
yeah.
the Saints are the team to beat in the NFC because
Mhm.
I like their 1-2 punch at running back.
You want to hear a crazy stat?
Yeah, let's
so
hear it.
Buffalo Bills made the playoffs. Like you already pointed out, their point differential minus 57. Total offense, they're 29th out of 32 teams in the NFL. Total defense, they're 26th.
Wow.
So they're not good on either side of the football.
No.
They have been outscored by 57 points, yet somehow they managed to make the playoffs. I don't know how. And they're playing Jacksonville this week, so I don't see how there's any way Buffalo makes it out of this round.
Yeah, but see, I don't think Jacksonville's. I've lost my opinion on them. They've looked bad the last couple
Yeah.
weeks.
And what I would like to add about Hunter, you were talking about the Bills, is LaShawn McCoy's question.
Yeah,
He may not even play.
That-
he's
I mean,
the
that's
only
a-
thing that the Bills have
Yeah,
going for them.
that's their
Right.
only hope.
Mhm.
I mean, they got a big problem, you
Mhm.
know, and especially with Jacksonville. Yes, Cameron, I like you were saying, you know, they've been struggling the last couple weeks, but I think it's playoff time. It's been a long time since they've
Yeah.
been there. That defense is stout, and it honestly all comes down to Bortles.
Yeah,
You know,
I agree with that.
He's had his good games, and his bad games are bad.
Real bad. He played.
Real bad.
We watched a little bit of that game
Yeah.
Sunday. He played really, really
Oh
bad.
yeah,
Their
So,
offense
I
was
mean,
awful.
I'm liking the Jaguars. I think they'll step it up and get the win.
So let's do my Cam's 4 last week. I went 2-2. I did have the Bengals though, and they won outright, so that was good. But I did lose the Saints, and I can't remember who else I had. I had Houston.
You had the
I had the
Titans.
Colts beating Houston, and I had the Titans. The Jags let me down on Sunday. So I've got 2 here. I've got the Bills plus 9. If LaShawn McCoy plays, I think the Bills will keep that within a touchdown. It's in Jacksonville.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Jacksonville's good enough to blow out the Bills.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if LaShawn McCoy does not play, it could be a different story. But I like the Bills plus 9. I also like the Rams minus 6. I haven't really been a believer in Atlanta all year, and Atlanta has to go to LA in that game. I think the Rams are a scary football team. Minus 6, I think they win that game by a touchdown or 2. So I'm gonna go 2 this week. Cam's 2 this week. There's only 4 games this weekend, so I'll go 2. So here's a new segment we're gonna introduce on the podcast. It's called Keep or Banish. So we're gonna decide on NFL quarterbacks. Should the team keep them or kick them to the curb? No good anymore. Hunter, we'll start with you. Joe Flacco is our first nominee.
Oh, we're kicking him to the curb.
Banish him.
So there's only one stat that you need to know about Joe Flacco: his salary. It's a 6-year deal. Makes $22.1 million a year. $22.1 million a year to
Wow.
play very, very mediocre football.
He's the definition of an average NFL quarterback.
Yes.
He won a
played-
Super Bowl.
Played incredible that one postseason to win in the Super Bowl.
He did.
Signed a huge
He
deal.
had a
and
great
has-
defense then, though.
Done.
I think he's done nothing but sleep
No.
since.
8-8, 9-7. That's all they
Yeah.
do over there.
Mhm.
Yeah, he's got to go.
Mason, Joe Flacco, keep or banish?
Look, he's got to go. I mean,
Man.
he, like you were just saying, he's like ever since they got hot that year, and you know they made the wild card, and then just got smoking hot, and they won it. Ray Lewis's last year.
Yeah.
Personally, one of my favorite runs of all time.
Oh yeah, me too.
So I know hats off to Joe Flacco that year, but ever since then, just decline, average, mediocre. So yeah, he's got to go.
So, saw a stat, ESPN. Deshaun Watson played 7 games this year. He threw 19 touchdowns. Joe Flacco played all 16. He threw 19 touchdowns.
That's really bad.
That's bad. And Marcus Mariota, excuse me, Marcus Mariota is not on this list, but he had 13 touchdowns this year. He played every game but 1. Deshaun Watson had 6 more touchdowns than Mariota this year. That's crazy. All right, so let's start with you, Trent. Andy Dalton, keep or banish?
It's tough because I don't think Andy Dalton and Marvin Lewis work out together.
Yeah, I agree
'Cause I
with
think
that.
Marvin Lewis is a defensive guy, right?
Yeah, he's a
Pretty
defensive
sure, yeah,
guy.
defensive
for sure.
guy. And I think Andy Dalton could be a very good quarterback if he was with take Jared Goff, for example. Given he was a rookie last year too.
Yeah.
So he make a big leap in his first year, second year. But I think Jared Goff also benefits for having Sean McVay as an offensive
Oh,
coach.
yeah. for
Plus
sure.
they loaded up with weapons around him, added
Mhm.
Woods, Watkins, added a tight end, got
Mhm.
some help on the offensive line. But I think that those two together, Marvin Lewis and Andy Dalton, can't coexist. So one of them's got to go.
Yeah.
And it doesn't look like it's Marvin Lewis.
Yeah,
so
he
I'm
just
guessing
got a
Andy
2-year
Dalton's
deal.
got to go.
I agree with that. I think Andy Dalton needs to go. I've been on the A.J. McCarron bandwagon ever since he got drafted. I think they need to give him a chance.
He's a free agent this year.
Yeah, he's going to leave. I don't know why Cincinnati's sticking with Andy Dalton. He's kind of the Joe Flacco effect. He's just been kind of meh. He's not terrible. He's just not great.
I just think he'd be better with another like Sean McVay
Yeah,
or somebody like that. And Andy
I agree.
Reid.
By the way, Marvin Lewis got a contract extension today, and I don't know how in the world that happened.
Yeah.
He's been a dead man walking for 4 years.
Yeah.
So, all right, hometown boy, Jacksonville boy, Josh McCown. Hunter, what do you think?
I'm banishing him.
Banishing my boy Josh McCown off
Yeah.
my Jets. No.
And he's been around a long time.
He has
Okay,
been.
I'm going to throw some stats at you. His career completion percentage, 60%. His touchdown interception ratio is 97 to 77, and his quarterback rating is 80. This year, 67% completion, 18 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, and he had a 94.5 quarterback rating. So this year was a career year.
Yeah.
And at his age, there's no chance he does it again next year. I just think they need to move in another direction.
See, my thing is with McCown, he's played on literally the worst team in the NFL almost every year he's been in the league. He's played on the Browns. He played on the Buccaneers when they were 2-14. He played for Arizona when they were awful. Detroit when they were awful. The Jets were supposed to go 0-16 this year, and I gave up on the season before it even started. And we won 5 games. I know that sucks, but this season was actually kind of fun with Josh till he got hurt towards the end. So, I mean, I enjoyed the season. I'd like to have him back for my Jets. Maybe just one more year. Draft a QB, let the QB develop under Josh, and then I'd like to have him back one
I
more.
can
He is
see that.
38.
I can see that.
I mean, he's not going to get us to a Super Bowl or anything, but I mean, he can develop a young guy. He's a great leader. Everybody seems to like him, so I'd like to keep him. So we'll move on. Trent, I'll let you take this one. Jameis Winston, keep or banish?
What? He played pretty hot in the last couple games, right?
He did. Their coaching situation's garbage, I think.
Yeah, honestly, I don't know. I think he's been kind of a bust at this point after being taken. Was it? What
This
was
is
his
his
number 2?
third year in the league. He was
he
taken
taken
number 2
2?
overall after Andrew Luck. No,
Mariota.
sorry, Mariota. Yeah.
Yeah. For being a number 2 pick,
They haven't won more than 6 games. I don't think.
yeah, he's kind of a bust, man. I'd go searching, especially this. Well, yeah, I don't know, man. I would get rid of him and try to trade up for one of those top spots. Maybe get a Rosen or a Darnold. Even though I think Darnold should stay in college,
Yeah, I agree with
that's
that.
still debatable. Or Baker Mayfield, kick the tires on him.
Yeah.
I don't know. I would banish him though.
Hunter, James Winston.
I'm keeping Winston, and
Really?
I'll tell you why. So in 3 seasons, he's thrown for 11,636 yards for 3 seasons. Now let's go ahead and give him a 13-year career. Let's say he plays until he's in his mid-30s. That's very reasonable. Okay, if he does it again, then he's on pace for 50,422 yards. That's a good career. That's 9th all time.
Wow.
So he's on pace to be 9th all time in passing yards in his career.
Mhm.
I think you keep it going.
Mason, what do you think about Jameis Winston?
I think that they should keep him. I think these last couple weeks, especially on doing DraftKings, picking him, he's been putting up 300 plus yards.
Yeah, he throws for a lot of yards.
Mhm.
And one trend that I've noticed about the Bucks watching them this season is every single game they started off ice cold, and then at the very end
They come out.
they would come out and score, and then it would just be too late, and they'd run out of time. But I do like Jameis, and I do like how they added Deshaun Jackson, the slot receiver, this offseason.
Yes.
To complement Mike Evans on the outside. But still, I don't know. I think that they need to work on their secondary and some other pieces on defense. Maybe add a couple of linemen and give them a little bit more time before maybe they might consider a change.
Okay. Well, next one is Deshaun Kaiser. Does anybody think the Browns should keep Deshaun Kaiser?
No.
I say you banish him.
He's done.
He's been atrocious. I think the Browns robbed him, threw him in a bad situation.
Mhm.
But I mean, you got to get rid of him. Anybody disagree with that?
No, he's gone.
No, he's gone.
Get him out of there. So Jay Cutler, his career is coming down to a close. Mason, what do you think about Jay Cutler? Keep or banish?
I don't really know his actual age, but I think it's in the mid-30s.
Yeah, he's getting pretty old.
He's getting up there, and he came out of retirement. I'm pretty sure, because he retired from the Bears, I think. And
Yeah.
They picked up for the Dolphins when Ryan Tannehill went out again.
Yeah.
So I think he just came back. I'm pretty sure he got paid this one season for $10 million.
$10 million this season. He was not good.
No, he's not good. So I think that personally, if I'm Jay Cutler and the Dolphins come to me and say, "Hey, we'll pay you $10 million,"
I'm taking that.
Yeah,
Come win 6 games.
I don't blame him for coming out of China.
No, not at all.
For collecting the paycheck there. But yeah, I think that his career is winding down, and his good days are way behind him.
Hunter, I'll let you finish with Jay Cutler. What do you think? Keep or banish?
Banish and Jay Cutler. He's
agree
never
with
had a
that.
good career. He's never been a world-class quarterback. And outside of last year when he was injured, this was his second lowest passer rating of his career. So never been great, and he's coming off of second worst year of his career. I'm getting rid of him before it gets even worse.
Trent, you got anything to add about Jay Cutler?
Man, he's just not a leader.
He is not a
He
leader
can't-
at all.
he
That guy
can't
looks
lead
like
a
he's
soul
miserable
to
all the
anything.
time.
But people keep giving him a chance because you got a cannon. I mean,
Yeah.
he has an
Mhm.
incredible
He got a lot of
arm,
talent.
So,
Listen, man, if he was on the Warrior team with Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, they may win 42 games. He would find a way to make that team bad.
Yeah, he seemed to be a cancer his whole career.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's do the Power 5. This week we're doing the Power 5 worst bowl names. Hunter, I'll let you go ahead and
okay.
start this one off.
So I'll start 5 and work all the way down to 1.
Okay.
Number 5, the famous Idaho Potato Bowl.
Oh,
Number 4, Nova Home Loans Arizona Bowl. Number 3, Bad Boys Mower Gasparillo Bowl. Number 2, Raycom Media Camellia Bowl. And number 1, the Chair Bundy Tart Cherry Boca Raton Bowl. I don't
oh
know.
my God. Wow. Oh, that's where Florida Atlantic plays, Boca Raton.
Yeah, Boca Raton. There it is.
go.
So I'll go ahead and do mine. Number 5, the Camping World Bowl. Number 4, the Gasparilla Bowl. I don't even know what that is. What the hell is a Gasparilla? And then you have the Cure Bowl. And number 2, the Foster Farms Bowl. That's my go-to when I roast the Big Ten, winning the Foster Farms Bowl. And number 1, the worst bowl name ever, is the Dollar General Bowl.
Hey, man.
What?
Okay.
Whose idea was that?
No, Dollar General is incredible. Okay.
No.
Well, so are Idaho potatoes, but
Freshman and
Potatoes
sophomore
are
year of
good.
college, we lived right next to a Dollar General, and let me tell you, it was awesome. I love it. I love the Dollar General Bowl.
They don't deserve a bowl.
I'm all
Plus,
in.
their bowl game was 34-0, so they're disqualified.
True.
Mason, Trent, you got any of the Power 5?
Y'all,
Yeah, I think y'all hit the nail on the head. Those are all awful.
Got some pretty bad
Oh,
bowls.
pretty
Yeah.
bad.
All right, so let's move on. Cuds, who the hell are you this week?
Oh, baby.
Okay, this week, who the hell is Joe Young? Joe Young had 20 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists in 24 minutes off the bench for the Indiana Pacers. Went 7 for 11 from the field, 3 for 3 from the free throw line, and 3 from 4 from downtown.
Joe Young.
You know, it's actually funny because me and Cameron watched Joe Young in college. He was a baller for Oregon.
Yeah.
But yeah, he just stepped it up. I don't know why, but he just had his shot was falling that night.
He had a career night.
He did.
Shout out to
Young.
the little brother Jacob, plays for the Texans.
Oh,
He's a shooter, got the honey.
Joe Young. Who the hell are you? All right, nickname college quiz time.
Oh, no. I didn't prepare for this.
All right,
I'll take
Trent,
it
I'm
with
starting with you right out of the
Okay.
gates. Kareem Hunt. Where do you go to
Kareem Hunt.
college?
Oh my gosh. They play for that blue and gold team, right?
Yes.
Hold on, let me think about it. Is it not
Clock's
Toledo?
ticking.
Is it not Toledo?
Toledo, there you go.
Yeah.
Good
Yes.
Go
All
to
right.
Rockets.
They are the
Yes.
Rockets. That a boy Hunter. All right, Cud Deshaun Jackson.
Deshaun Jackson went to Cal.
That a
I
boy.
knew that.
All right, Hunter. I'm giving you the nickname to redeem yourself from last week.
Give it to me.
Dartmouth.
Dartmouth, the Big Green.
That a boy.
Yes.
Wow.
All right. Anybody else got one?
All right. Cameron, where did Julius Peppers go to college?
Oh. Julius Peppers.
Yes.
I have no idea.
North Carolina.
I never knew
That's,
that.
that's right. He played for
Wow.
Mac Brown. He played for Mac Brown.
That's a good one. I didn't know that.
Wow.
1997.
Nice.
That's good.
Stumped
Yes.
it.
That's
Stumped
good.
it.
Oh,
All right.
I got one for you.
All right.
I got one for both. I think I got one for you. 'Cause I think you know this one. I got one for Cud.
All right.
You know where Cameron Cup played? We're just talking about him being a great
Cooper
receiver.
Cup.
Cooper Cup?
I mean Cooper Cup.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
He went to, I think, Maryland.
Uh-uh.
No.
Mm. FCS school.
Is it FCS?
Yeah.
Really?
Yes, FCS school. It's on the West Coast, up top.
It's on the West Coast.
On the West Coast.
Honestly, I don't think I know.
He went to Eastern Washington. What's
Oh.
their nickname on it?
Salute.
Wow.
Eastern Eagles.
The Eagles, and they play on red turf. Fun fact of the
That's
day.
right.
Oh.
It's disgusting.
That's cool.
All right, so let's move on to Trent's controversial take. This is going to be fun.
Now, there's really not a controversial take here. We discussed the SEC so much.
Yes, we did.
I was going to talk about the dominance of Alabama and how impressive it's been. With, like I said, I had some of those stats a little bit off.
Mhm.
The coaches that played against Saban, like I said, they're 2-42, was stumbling out, but Jimbo in. And Gus Malzahn has both of those wins. Let me see here. And then, like I said, outside of Saban and now Kirby Smart, he's the only coach. They're the only coaches to win a New Year's Six bowl or a BCS bowl on a national championship. And then I also want to talk about another thing I had about them was, and I got this wrong. I was talking to Cut about this when I was talking about the SEC. Since 2006, the SEC champ has been Florida, LSU, and Auburn twice. Georgia one time this year, and then Bama 5 times, including 4 of the last 6.
Hey, I got another cool stat about Alabama. I was listening to Goalie Camingo this morning, and they said that Nick Saban has played a former assistant coach of his 12 times. They're 0-12. He's never lost to a former assistant coach. Now he plays Kirby Smart next week in the national championship.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's gonna be.
And none of those games have been closer than 10 points. He's beat every former coach of his by double digits.
Well, that's not good for my Tennessee Vols, Jeremy Pruitt. Thanks for
Oh,
that.
he's gonna get them going though. I think.
I hope
Yeah.
so.
But here's kind of what I'm gonna have 2 points, and one of them, and this is gonna bring back a little bit of a debate up,
Oh, no.
but it's just gonna be a tiny one.
All right.
So I went through when y'all were discussing the NFL and stuff. You're talking about the NFL, and I circled all the teams in all the conferences that I covered, not including the Pac-12, that had at least they had less than 2 bowl eligible team wins, not just including Power 5, just 2 bowl eligible team wins. SEC has 8. That doubles that doubles every conference, but the Big Ten. Big Ten has 7. The Big 12 has 2, and the ACC had 4.
Wait, this is 8 wins against
No. So listen. So there's
8
8
losses.
teams. LSU has 2 wins versus bowl eligible teams.
So
Right.
these are teams that only have 2 or fewer
No, they have-
wins.
2 or more.
They have two wins against against bowl eligible teams.
Okay.
That's the ceiling. They don't have any more than 2 wins.
The SEC has 8. You're
They have
telling
8. They have LSU, A&M, Mizzou, Ole Miss, Florida, Vandy, Arkansas, and Tennessee. And then
That's actually a really good stat.
me. That is a good
And
stat.
then the Big 12 has Baylor and Kansas. The ACC has Virginia, Georgia Tech, Syracuse, North Carolina. And then the Big 10 has Michigan, Indiana, Minnesota, Rutgers, Maryland, Nebraska, and Illinois.
See,
So, and my last thing to prove what I was trying to say earlier. So, okay, we're all agree that LeBron James is the best basketball player, right?
Yes.
well, yes.
Okay, and when he was with D Wade in Miami, that was a great team. Those 2 of the best players in the league, right?
Right.
Do you think that team would beat Golden State of 2015 when they won it all that first year?
No.
Or no,
No.
do you think they'd win it all against this team this year with Kevin Durant?
No.
No, I don't think
So that's 2 very, very, you would say almost, the 2 greatest players, 2 of the top
No,
greatest
I
players.
take that back, actually. I think the Heat would be.
You think that he would be?
I do. I take
the
that back.
Warriors?
They had some good.
I do. The
chemistry.
Heat were stacked back then.
They were stacked, but the Spurs beat them. The
Yeah,
Mavericks
so
beat
the
'em.
Spurs were great.
So to me, it takes an
The Warriors
all-around
aren't
team effort.
unbeatable.
So this is my point, though. So what I'm saying is
That's not true at all. You just stumped yourself.
No, I didn't.
Yes, you did. Team effort. The Heat had Wade. They won 1 championship with Wade.
What I'm saying is that with LeBron and Wade, you said that was what'd you say they were a magical team?
Yeah, they're very good
Yeah,
because they had 3
They had-
fantastic basketball
they had
players:
2 of the.
Chris Bosh, Dwayne Wade, and LeBron James.
Exactly, and those
They
are-
carried
but-
that football team. and basketball
Oh, they
team.
carried that. They carried that basketball team, right?
Yes.
Exactly. So what I am saying is that the Spurs, with a lot of good parts, not the best players, but a lot of good parts, beat them.
Yes.
Dallas Mavericks, not the best players, but a lot of good parts, beat them. Golden State this year with a ton of great parts,
Trent,
but not
I've
the best
never,
part.
I've never said. Excuse me.
But that's my point, though.
I've never said that the SEC is not top heavy. My argument is you judge a conference by their top teams.
Okay.
The SEC is very down towards the
So,
bottom of the conference and the
this-
middle of
but
the
I'm-
conference.
I was going to ask you one thing. I'll let it go. And I'm going to say one tweet by Booger McFarland, which who you love.
I do love,
And you know what I'm about to
I
say.
really need to vent about Joel Klatt.
I know,
as well.
and I know what you're.
He's an
what you're about to
idiot.
say.
If you listen to this podcast, Joel Klatt, you're an idiot.
Yeah, you're lost. You need to be fired.
And here, so what I'm saying is that does the middle of the conference play not matter at all? As long
I
as
never said
no,
that.
no. Bro, I'm not saying you said that. I'm just asking you. Does it not matter at all if you have the two best teams?
No, it matters.
It does matter.
Of course it matters, Trent.
Okay. And then I was going to say, Booger, who you were talking about, the bowl season doesn't mean anything. You retweeted something about him saying the bowl records don't mean everything, right? Hold on. He just tweeted today, said an all SEC final does not mean the SEC is the best conference. It just means that they had the two best teams he said the two best teams that played are from the SEC. They said they're not the best conference.
My whole point is that the bowls, the Foster Farms and the Gasparilla Mower Lawnmower Bowl,
Yeah.
should not be compared to winning the Cotton Bowl, the Rose Bowl.
No, I agree.
Those guys are amped up and ready to play.
I agree. And
Some of the kids playing in the freaking Cure Bowl are partying the night before.
but you're telling me
They're just out- I mean,
that's terrible coaching. That's just terrible team chemistry. You gotta have them boys ready to play. I don't care what bowl it is.
I guess so. But you know that goes on.
Oh yeah.
I can't tell how many teams I've seen just lay an egg in the bowls. Toledo, they're a good team this year. I put 40 points on them in my College Bowl Mania. Lost 34
That's
of them.
why it's hard to bet on them non-power 5 teams.
That's true. But some of these teams just don't show up in the bowls. When you're playing the freaking Cure Bowl, it's hard to get up and get ready for the Cure Bowl.
No, I get that, bro.
Especially
and I
when
agree.
nobody shows up to,
Yeah, you got to play in front of
you know,
5,000 people.
Yeah, there's more, like we
With
were
the whole-
talking about last segment, there's more people.
My whole
100%
point-
More people go to state football games.
Oh
than
yeah,
ours.
last podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't compare the Foster Farms Bowl win to a big time bowl. That's my whole point, and I'll leave it at that. If you want to add something else, go ahead. We need to move on.
No, that's all. I'm just.
Okay.
I was just trying to use that basketball analogy with the two
Oh,
great
that was
players
good.
versus good.
That was good. You had
Spur
good
team.
points.
Yeah.
The
That
deal
was
is,
fine.
you both have very good points. You just value different things, so you're never going to agree because you
Yeah.
value the.
Well, I
middle
think we
conference
both
and you-
value. I will say that the bowl games that the SEC won are the most important ones. But I mean, it's not even like they're both going to the ship. But I'm just saying, I also value the other bowl games and the way that other teams in the conference play.
I've got one for you. We're not moving on just yet. I've got one for you. How many New Year's Six Bowl wins does the Big 12 have?
Oh, they had 0, yeah.
None. The SEC has 2.
The Big Ten has 3.
I thought the Big 10 has 2.
Well, they have Ohio State, Wisconsin.
Oh,
You're-
Wisconsin. You're right. They have 3. That's good. So, in my opinion, the debate's between the Big 12, the Big 10, and the SEC.
Yeah, I agree.
The Big
I
12 is
agree
not
with
there.
that.
I'm sorry.
But see,
Yeah.
but then you, like I said, these numbers I read off about, they only beat 2 teams with a record better than 500. 8
That's
teams
why I think the
SEC.
SEC is better than the Big 10.
And it
No, the SEC has
It's
more
8.
teams.
has 8, and the Big Ten has 7.
Yeah.
The ACC and the Big 12 aren't even close to that. That's terrible. I mean, that
That's
is so bad.
That's bad. You're right. I'll give you that. That is bad.
Okay. I'm just.
We're never going to agree on
We're
this.
never
We'll be
gonna agree on
here
it.
this time next year arguing about the same
You're
thing.
dang right.
We'll do it till we're
Now,
50.
I will say this: if the SEC gets good quarterback play and good coaching, which I think they made a lot of good coaching hires,
Mm-hmm.
I think they'll be back to their dominance.
Mm-hmm.
See, nobody has very good quarterback play. The Pac-12 is the best quarterbacks in the league.
Well, I don't know. It depends. I think. Well, I guess you're right. I'll probably take.
As of this year, they do.
As far as NFL quarterbacks, I'll take those two. I think Baker Mayfield and Mason Rudolph gives them room for them.
All right, we need to move on to my favorite segment, overrated, underrated.
Ooh, good.
Mason, you've got some good stuff here, so I'll let you start with Jim Harbaugh, overrated or underrated.
Oh, okay. So, in my opinion, I think Jim Harbaugh is the most overrated coach in college football. He has coached 3 seasons at Michigan and has had a total of 7 wins against a winning record football team, including 2017 1 win against a winning team, Purdue, who was 7-6. And then in 2016, Colorado, Penn State, Wisconsin, that was the best year he's had there at Michigan. And in 2015, Northwestern, Florida, and Penn State, who was 7-6 also that year.
Mhm.
And Florida, they beat them for I'm pretty sure 41-0. Florida was not good.
No, Florida's
They
awful.
barely crept into that game. I don't know how that happened. But yeah, I mean, he is, I guess a lot of people just don't take the time to look into it that much, but I just don't think he's that good, and I think that tells it right there. But also this fourth season, Shea Patterson's transferring in. It could be a big season in Michigan. That's what I think.
I think you got some good stuff there. Hunter, go ahead and throw in something real quick about Jim.
I like the guy, so I don't want to say he's overrated, but he just doesn't produce wins, so he's overrated.
Yeah, I mean, he's struggling. I think he's a good coach. Something's not working at Michigan.
Mhm.
They don't
I
have a
agree.
quarterback.
I agree.
I don't know what the deal is over there. Their quarterback play is so bad.
They fired Brady Hoke after, I think it was 3 seasons or 4.
3, maybe. Something
He has
like
2
that.
more wins than Brady Hoke does.
Yeah, I know. It's bad.
Yeah.
All right, so, Trent, you're going to love this. So, overrated, underrated, guacamole.
Underrated.
Mhm.
Fact. Behind queso, second best dipping sauce.
I agree.
Guacamole is the most overrated. What is that? What even is that?
Underrated.
Avocado.
Avocado
Yeah.
is the most overrated
Question.
food ranch dressing I've ever in my life.
I'm about to end him.
Look,
hey, y'all
no.
listen to that? I'm about to end him. Have you ever had guacamole?
No, listen to me. Listen to me. I'm getting to that. I'm the most picky eater ever. Okay? Have you seen what it looks like? Look at that. That thing's going to come out and eat
That's
somebody
bad.
one of these days. Look
That
at
is a
that.
terrible
It's got
argument
like
for
eyeballs
overrated,
in it.
underrated.
Guacamole is horrible.
Wait, have you ever tried it?
I'm never trying guacamole.
That's all you need to know right there.
Yeah,
The
I
man's
mean,
never
that's
tried guacamole.
Discussion over. Go host another podcast.
Can't believe he's from
Your
Texas.
opinion-
Never had guacamole.
Your opinion is
Guacamole is
invalid.
horrible.
The most un-Texan thing ever.
I will never try guacamole.
God.
Guacamole is underrated, and it's rated very highly by most people, and it's
Yeah.
underrated.
It's overrated.
I would sit there in a bathtub and bathe in guacamole
Yeah.
if I could.
Yeah,
You're
give,
nasty.
give me a straw, and I'll go to work on some guacamole.
That's right.
Mason,
I think it's overrated.
thank you.
But this is why I'm weird. I like avocados, but I don't like
That's a first.
guacamole. Which I don't like onions and tomatoes, which is mixed in guacamole.
Yeah.
So that's why I don't like guacamole.
That's fair. That's fair.
Good point. At least you tried it though, right?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
well, then you can have an opinion.
So I'm playing devil's advocate with all 3 of you here. So next one, Chick-fil-A, overrated, underrated.
If you dare tell me that Chick-fil-A is overrated, you better walk out of this room. Chick-fil-A is Chick-fil-A is God's gift to mankind.
Yes.
It is not only my favorite fast food chain, it is my favorite restaurant. If I had one meal to eat, and it was it. Like if I were on death row and had one meal to eat, I'm going Chick-fil-A spicy chicken sandwich.
Wow.
10 times out of 10.
Bold statement.
Chick-fil-A
Bold move, Cotton.
is overrated. It is overrated.
Overrated.
Now, don't get me wrong, I like Chick-fil-A. Raising Cane's blows it out of the water. It's not
They're two
even on
different.
the
They're
same
two different
map.
types of food.
Their chicken.
That is-
Listen to
it-
this. Chick-fil-A has the most soggy chicken nuggets I've ever laid my hands on in my life.
Fact.
They do. The freaking chicken is falling off. I eat like meat, just the white meat. I love chicken. Hey, I'm the chicken expert here.
What Chick-fil-A did you go to?
I eat Chick-fil-A all the
Because
time.
I go every single Chick-fil-A I've ever been to. My food is hot, it's fresh, and it's right every single time. Chick-fil-A, very underrated. It will forever be underrated. Holy
Overhyped. Trent, back
That's
me
right.
up
So
here.
here it is. You get great service. The people are
Oh, yes.
amazing.
Great Christian
It is
place.
hot and fresh, but I have never had such a soggy bun in my life.
Oh,
a
awful.
chicken sandwich.
You know what their problem is? They put pickles on their chicken sandwiches.
There,
What's
you
wrong
got
with
no
that?
pickles.
I love
That-
pickles.
I will say I don't
You put it on
I'm not
chicken.
A fan, hey, hold on. I'm not a fan of pickles, but I do like it with the Chick-fil-A chicken sandwich.
Nah,
But their bun, you could stack up 5 pieces of paper
horrid.
and it'd be bigger than the bun.
Yeah.
That blows my mind, man. Like, and Hunter, that was a bold statement for that to be your last meal.
Have you ever had a spicy chicken sandwich? I mean, good lord.
Man,
Cuz.
Yes.
Our last meal would be Shogun's fried rice.
Oh, Shogun's fried rice is up there.
Way better than soggy Chick-fil-A.
Yeah.
No.
give me my last meal. If we're doing last meals here, Whataburger.
No, Trent.
Are you kidding?
Oh wait, we gotta
I
move
am-
on. Now I've got to go at Cud here.
Okay.
Oh God.
You're gonna agree with me here. We're
Good.
agreeing here. I like this segment,
You
Trent.
good? About
Greg
time.
Popovich, overrated, underrated. Cud,
Let me just tell you, he moved in front of George Karl for 5th all-time in wins tonight.
okay,
He is a legend.
he is a
Period.
legend.
He is a legend. But
Right.
Mac Brown was a legend at Texas, and he got canned. Or
Yeah.
he would have got canned if he didn't resign.
Okay, he's still a legend. Trent.
He is still a legend.
No,
But
I'm not agreeing. I'm not
We're
arguing.
not arguing if he's not a legend.
Yeah.
But it might be his time to go. He's making some questionable personnel decisions.
Very
Like what?
questionable.
Like what?
Like
All right,
Okay.
let me get to this real quick.
Go
Greg
ahead.
Popovich is a fantastic coach. He is not among one of the best basketball coaches of all time. He is overrated. He's
Well,
not. I mean, top 10. I'll give you top 10. Top 5, nah.
So I don't know about that.
But listen to me. I think his whole – I like Greg Popovich. But I think his
can't
whole
stand
little
the guy.
being mean to the media, I think, is all a show.
It is on the show.
He made himself the head coach of that team. He's never coached anything on record except for the Spurs.
Mm-hmm.
He was the GM, made himself coach. He hit the jackpot with David Robinson and Timmy D.
Fact.
He hit the jackpot with Kawhi Leonard. So the Spurs have historically made great decisions in the past. I give them that.
Which that's
Times
good talent.
are going bad for the Spurs right now. They are not keeping up with everybody in the West. They're, 3, 4 seed right now.
Mhm.
They're getting rid of all their young players.
Now that's what I have a
Jonathan
problem with.
Simmons.
Oh, that broke
What's
my
the big
heart.
guy's name? Dwayne Dedman.
Deadman.
And they're sticking with all these old guys that produced nothing. Tony Parker should have retired 2 years ago. Manu should have retired 2 years ago. I mean,
See, well,
and my biggest pet peeve with Pop is he won't play Kawhi. He's been healthy for 3 weeks.
this is my thing. Before we get, I know, Cud, you're about to.
I don't cuz
Get
that's
on
killing
both
me
of
here.
us.
I couldn't wait for
And
this.
look, so I do think Popovich is a top 5 all time coach.
I'll give you maybe 5.
Okay, but I'm not. But it doesn't mean if you don't produce at the end of the day, and to me, if you're making questionable personnel decisions, sometimes you just lose it.
I think he's lost.
Sometimes you can lose
I
it.
think it's time for
And
Bob to move
what
on.
frustrates me to the max, and I love that the Spurs are a fundamental team. They swing the ball around. But dear Lord, when you get rid of Jonathan Simmons and you keep
He's balling for the
slow
Magic.
mo,
He's awful.
it's such a boring. Pau Gasol, all these old farts
I
on
will
this
say
team.
Powell's played pretty good this
Okay,
year.
I will say that. But yeah, so many old guys, and he's like basically refusing to field an athletic team.
Yeah.
And it makes me so mad.
Yeah.
I think losing Jonathan Simmons, that almost, I mean, that really hurt my heart. I love Jonathan Simmons, and I think he could have been a really good player with the Spurs. And
I
that
agree.
decision in itself made me kind of the way I am about Popovich today.
So close it out, Mason. I'll let you finish.
Okay, well, first of all, talking to the media has zero to do with coaching.
No, I agree. I just saying.
So
it's,
that
it's
doesn't
all,
matter.
it's all an act.
That doesn't matter.
No,
Whatever
you're right,
he
you're
does,
right.
that's what he wants to do. That's beneath
It's
me.
still an act, though.
Oh, yeah. On top of that, yes, Trent Juice Man, he was
Wow.
me and your favorite player.
Oh,
He
yeah.
was the man athletic. He was
great.
the perfect bench player. Awesome. And he was learning and
Spark
getting
off
more
the bench.
minutes. He was a great player. That was a big time mistake
Big
that they
time.
let him go. And the Spurs had a bad offseason. They were in the talks with a lot of big name people, and
Didn't
they
get
brought
anyone.
in Rudy Gay. That's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
So my Spurs
Another old guy.
really botched this last offseason.
Mm-hmm.
But on the flip side of not playing Kawhi all these minutes, the third team in the West right now by
That is true.
I believe 2 games back from
That is
first.
true.
I mean, and then you beneath the Spurs, the teams are struggling. They're trying to find their identity.
Yeah.
They're doing fine, and LaMarcus is playing how LaMarcus has been
He's played,
supposed to
he's
have been
played his
playing.
best basketball for the
Exactly.
Spurs this year.
So there's honestly not a rush to get Kawhi back in playing 32 plus minutes. I mean, they're playing
No.
fine. That's just what I'm thinking. Yes, as a Spurs fan and NBA fan, basketball fan, Kawhi is just awesome to play. Yes, I want him to get out there, but I mean, they're not hurting by not.
No,
playing
but
him.
it's time to play him.
Oh, I agree.
We're at the
But
midway
see-
mark of the NBA season. It's time to get him going.
I think, and this may be kind of controversial, but I think you could take probably most any of the other NBA coaches and put them in charge of the Spurs, and they had the same record. Now, I don't know. I'm not saying all of them, but I'm saying most of them.
I don't know.
Maybe the elite coaches.
Yeah.
I don't know about Luke Walton taking the Spurs to 25.
Especially because the way the Spurs system is, with like we were talking about, they don't have all the big names, but put together,
Yeah, that's true.
they're a good
Now,
good
yeah.
basketball team.
I think he drafts
And a lot of
well,
coaches don't play
He
that
does.
way. They like to play, 1-on-1.
Yeah,
Let's see if I can
Yeah.
get by you and
Yeah.
make a layup or
For
just
me-
shoot a jump shot.
yeah. For me,
That's,
it could have been
that's
just
the way NBA plays now.
yeah. It could have just be like, what have you done for me lately?
Right.
And I'm used to the Spurs winning like every other year,
Mm-hmm.
and so now they haven't in a while. Could just be getting a little
Could be getting a little antsy.
antsy.
I just thought I'd kind of get after all three of you today, but we got to close things out here. So, Hunter, crazy stat of the week. Let's hear it.
So I'm gonna go with the fact that there's 0 undefeated teams in Division I college basketball now, and it's like this.
That
happened,
was crazy.
This happened before the new year. So the last weekend, the last 3 undefeated teams went down, and so now I'm looking at the standings right now. Let's see, Villanova. Actually, no, Villanova's not number 1 anymore. Michigan State took over as number 1.
Yep.
Let's see, what else we got here? Duke is 2. Villanova is 3 after getting their first loss of the season to Butler. who's playing really good basketball
Yes,
right
they
now.
are. 101 points. Maybe Villanova.
They did get beat tonight, but in a very close game to Xavier, who's number 5. Arizona State's 4, West Virginia 6. Oklahoma 7, Virginia 8, Wichita State 9. Kansas rounds out the top 10, which this is the lowest I've ever seen Kansas ranked.
They've been struggling a little bit.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, they're having a down year for Kansas basketball standards. So, yeah, that's my crazy stat. No undefeated teams.
I like the college basketball take.
I would like to add my crazy stat is Trace McSwirly for Penn State was 12 for 12, 193 yards and 2 touchdowns on third down.
Wow.
What?
Yes, that
That kid's
is
good.
that's my stat of the week. That it just blew me out of the water. Also, I would like to give a big props to Alex Hornibrook, the quarterback for Wisconsin.
Talk to me.
He had 12 interceptions coming into this bowl game, and the game before that, Big Ten championship, he went 19 for 40, 229 yards, 0 touchdowns, and 2 picks. That was the Big Ten championship game. He came in against Miami and went 23 for 34, 258 yards, 4 TDs, 0 picks. I thought that was a big rebound for Alex Hornibrook, and Trace McSwirly was just the play.
I've been all over
playmaker.
Hornibrook's case all year, but he played really good against a good Miami defense on
Mhm.
Saturday.
He tends to do that though. He gets hot, he's hot.
Yeah.
When he's cold, boy,
He's only a
cold.
sophomore, so maybe he'll be
Mhm.
better next year for Wisconsin.
Yeah.
But I
He's
loved
not
it
bad.
doing against that Miami defense, that
Yeah.
turnover chain defense.
Yeah.
Seeing
got it.
Paul Chris, y'all see what he said?
Yeah, I saw that.
Mhm.
Can't say it, but I loved every second
Yeah,
of it.
he got after him. All right, last segment of the day, Cud, NBA DraftKings picks of the day. Let's hear it.
My NBA DraftKings picks tonight would be Lou Williams at 7,500. He had 40 points for the Clippers last game. 40 actual points, not DraftKings points. I believe Trent had him on his team, and he got 59 DraftKings
59
points.
points.
Yeah, and then Tyreek Evans has been playing great basketball for
He sure
the
has
Memphis
been.
Grizzlies. Mike Conley's been out. They got no shooters. He's at 8,200. Those are two of the expensive side. But on the cheaper side, I like Taurean Prince. He's at 5,500.
Hey,
He's been playing big minutes for small forward for the Atlanta Hawks. He's been playing well. So that's my
that's some
player.
good news. Good news for my Bears to round out
Yeah.
the day. I like it.
We finished with a high note with your Baylor Bears.
I like
all
it.
the bashing
They
we
did.
did on them.
Sick.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was a tough day. My Bears got beat in overtime today by TCU.
Did they really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
All right, that's all we got today. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time. 903 Sports, baby.
Can't believe you said Chick-fil-A is overrated. That's unbelievable.
I just can't get over the soggy buns.